Sit on down and pour yourself a glass.
And tune into your favorite podcast,
where things will be misquoted
and opinions ain't sugar-coated.
'Cause DJ and Kelly are locked and probably loaded.
Hey guys, welcome to Locked and Probably Loaded with DJ and Kelly. I forgot our names. Locked and Probably Loaded with DJ and Kelly.
Happens to me all the time.
I'm your host, DJ Qualls, and I'm here with my good friend Kelly Blackheart. Hey Kelly.
Hi, I'm DJ Qualls.
How are you? You look great.
Thanks.
I like those glasses on you.
Thanks, I like those glasses on. I mean, if I could see you, I would probably like those glasses on you,
know what?
too.
These are the glasses that of my bullies. My bullies in high school all wore these kind of sunglasses, like Oakley style sunglasses, and I'm not mad at them.
It's very much like a drink an energy drink and ride on a jet ski type vibe. Or
I feel like Brad Pitt in that Burn After Reading, that movie.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I feel like.
Yeah. I think I tried to watch that movie because people said it was great, and then was it?
All my kids want to change their last names too.
He was also one of my awkward celebrity encounters.
Here's the thing. So we both casually know Brad Pitt. Well, you casually know him a little better than I do.
No, I mean, I don't really know him at all. I've been in his vicinity.
Actually, I feel
a few
terrible
times.
saying that now because he's been nothing but lovely. So I would like to say that my opinions and actions don't reflect the opinions of the show.
Yeah, I've never really spoken to him. He came to our show and did a few things, and I've been near, like, in the same group as him in a couple of occasions, but it's not like I've had a one-on-one conversation.
I've had conversations with him, and he legit was his favorite show.
Oh, nice.
And he was great. And he talked to me. They were thinking about making a movie at one point, I think.
Yeah, I embarrassed myself in front of him, basically. Like, he came and was the weatherman on the Jim Jeffries show, and I had walked out of the studio to take a phone call, and as I was coming back in, I was like emailing, so I was looking down at my phone, and so I was walking through a hallway, and he was walking this way through the same hallway, and so when you hear like footsteps coming towards you, I just moved to the side, and I looked up. And at the last second, I realized it's Brad Pitt, and I had purple hair at the time. And he's like, "Cool hair," and I go, "You too." And I just kept walking. So I embarrassed myself. But what else are you supposed to do?
So I kind of embarrassed myself too, because you probably don't remember this, but you guys were texting me because he was the weatherman.
Yeah. And
nobody told me that he was on the show. They just said Brad Pitt's coming. Brad Pitt's here, and I was in bad traffic, and I was going to miss the beginning of it, and everybody was like, "Come, Brad Pitt's here." And so I get there, and then I say in full voice to Jim, "Did Brad Pitt leave?" And he's like, "Shut up! He's right over there." I didn't know he was on the show.
Yeah. I think he came to the studio, or came to the actual studio twice for 2 live tapings.
Yeah, he did it twice, right?
And then when he went to Venice, he took his suit from the show to Venice with him, and then just sent Jim some clips of him doing weatherman stuff on his own.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, because he was like...
He's a good guy. Although I wasn't a fan of the bucket hat phase.
Yeah, no,
bucket hats are bad.
Yeah, they are bad.
That's over, right?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Travis Kelce has been wearing a bucket hat.
Oh, Travis Kelce, I'm imploring you, don't bring that back. Isaac, do you wear a bucket hat? See, I can't wear it because it makes me look like a penis. Because everything.
Maybe you're just jealous of the bucket hat guys then.
Well, no, it's because the bucket hat is the same width as my shoulders. So I look like a dick, like a literal dick.
Maybe just wear a lampshade.
Like when I say I feel like a dick, I mean it literally.
Yeah, I mean, fashion's so cyclical that it was inevitable that it would come back, and soon it will be so embarrassing. I mean, it already feels embarrassing to me for people to wear them, but it will become culturally embarrassing, and it won't come back for another 20 years. But it is just funny. Like, I mean,
Gilligan wore one on Gilligan's Island. I mean, I thought he wrecked it for everybody after that.
But then they came back in the 90s. Like, we're in an era of fashion that is very 90s, early 2000s right now. This is how it always happens. So that's why
we need somebody wearing a bucket hat to do something so terrible. You know how Hitler wrecked that mustache? Like,
yeah, now nobody gets to have
that little. I think it's called like a toothbrush mustache or something like that. Like, Imagine being so evil, you wreck a whole mustache style.
Yeah.
Like nobody could ever have that, right?
Jim talks about that a lot. Like every time he has a beard and he shaves it, he always shaves it in stages where it's like he'll have the whole like Fu Manchu handlebar type thing, and then
It's like that
shaves it a
magnet
little
thing
further.
when you were a kid that you could make facial hair on that person.
Yeah. What was it? Woolly Stan or something?
Yeah,
like
something
that.
like that.
Yeah, God. Also, that just reminds me, we really were roughing it as children to figure out ways to entertain ourselves, because I know that was entertaining for us. And
We played with sticks.
Kids these days would be like, what the fuck do you want me to do with that?
Yeah, Willy. Yeah. I like how innocent our childhood was.
Yeah, like we used our imaginations. We went out I was lucky.
You went out in the morning. So we were unsupervised. I mean, everybody says this. You went out in the morning after breakfast. You maybe came home at lunch, but you definitely came in like at dinner time. But you were unsupervised the whole day. I mean, the only negative, and I don't think it's a negative, is that we had nothing to do in the South. So like after day 3 of the same thing, everybody gets their dicks out.
I don't think it's a negative.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I was talking.
We had this clubhouse that was under a willow tree, and everybody pulled their pants down like on day 3 of hanging out.
That's what you do.
It's what you did back then.
That's what you fucking do. I was talking to my brother about that because his kids, like, they're fucking awesome, and I love hanging out with them, but they are so dependent on adults making fun for them. And we always talk about it. I'm like, I don't remember a time where our parents like had to entertain us. Like,
no,
if we
you
were
would be beaten to death if you said, "Hey, be funny."
Yeah, or it's like just the idea that they're coming up going, "I'm bored." It's like you have everything in the world.
My
at your
father, when I
fingertips.
said I'm bored, he would give me a chore to do. So I never ever said that growing up. I sat my ass on my front porch with my Mickey Mouse record player and my Queen albums. It's genetic.
There were signs.
Yeah. And with the little boys throwing rocks at me and listening to the Flash Gordon soundtrack. Flash. But never. I don't think we were bored because we didn't have the world at our fingertips. So like everything was interesting.
Yeah. It will be interesting to see. I mean, obviously there's pros and cons to.
Like you used to have to peek in somebody's window to see porn.
I know. Well, Jim always talks about the first time he ever got like a nudie magazine, that he rode his bike like a mile out into the forest and dug a hole and put it there.
Hilarious.
And covered it over, and he would go out to the woods to look at it.
You
to make sure
masturbated to
like,
the Sears catalog underwear section and to National Geographic. That's what you masturbated to, because it was the only place you could see naked people, and underwear was almost like being naked. And then there was the channel that had digitized porn, and every now and then you'd see a dick or a boob or.
Yeah, I remember like what was that show on HBO that was
Oz?
No, it was called like
The one with the taxi?
Taxi Cab
Confessions was good, but I'm not talking.
Todd Phillips was on that.
Was
the
he?
director of Road Trip, who now directed the recent Joker movie. He was a driver on that.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that. It was like real. It was like Real Sex, I think maybe it was called.
Oh, I remember that. Real Sex, I'm a Prostitute. Like they were at the ranch one week, and one week they were like one Real Sex, I am a sex worker, or Real Sex, I like to get my ball stepped on. Like I remember all of those. I watched them and masturbated to those too.
Yeah, it's like those things would be considered so like tame in today's standards.
See, here's the thing. The threshold for anything, like, it raises, right?
Of course, yeah.
So like I purposely will go like I'll go on a porn moratorium where I don't look at porn to make sure.
Pornatorium?
Yeah, a pornatorium. To make sure that I haven't damaged myself beyond imagination. So like I will completely rely on my imagination for a while, like 20 minutes, but but you know what I mean? Like I don't want to get so. I mean, now I'm just losing the will to do anything.
Yeah,
Who's that?
I don't know, somebody from Burbank.
Is it CarMax? I gave him your number.
Oh, good, thank you. Yeah,
I'm selling my car
at
tomorrow.
this point, masturbating is an event for me. It happens so infrequently, so I can't be bothered.
What do you do when you're in traffic?
Oh, I masturbate.
Okay.
But I rarely drive is what I'm saying. So it's still an event. I usually come right before I pick you up.
Oh.
When I say I'm coming now.
Oh, I wish I was dead. You took my joke and twisted it and turned it on me.
That's what you get.
I don't like that. Car insurance has gotten insanely expensive.
Yep.
So guys, I just
And that's called a transition in the biz, baby.
I'm
I thought
mad.
it was an ad.
Fuck you, Jake from State Farm. You're a fucking liar.
Jake from State Farm commented on one of my videos recently.
Fuck you, Jake from State Farm,
No,
and fuck you
we
too,
like
Flo.
you, Jake.
They lie. Progressive and State Farm are expensive. They're not going to advertise on our show, but
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Jake isn't setting the rates. I'm just going to say maybe we could fuck somebody else
When
from
I
State
asked
Farm.
for my quote, his fucking picture was on it.
Allegedly.
It was State Farm and Progressive were the two highest quotes I got, followed
Yeah,
by
I
Geico,
mean-
where I've been for like 20 years.
Everything obviously is
What, is there an
getting-
insurance shortage? You can't blame a supply chain problem on fucking insurance. We are being gouged.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, are you surprised by the gouging? It's happening everywhere.
So-
and these are all necessities.
So, guys, the only way to
Have
fight...
you tried, for a great car rate you can get online, go to the General, save some time. Have you tried the General?
No. No, but I did go to Experian and found out that Mercury car insurance is $178 a month.
I have Liberty Mutual.
How much is yours?
$198.
All right, and your car's
Jesus.
over, right? Yeah.
That's really high.
Car insurance is she.
Mine's under $100.
How? Where do you?
See, mine used to be
His
$100.
is like a DIY
mine used to be
insurance.
$100.
Progressive.
So
How?
mine used to be $100. Wait, do you have like I've got 100,000, 300,000 coverage
I got the full boat, but not 100,000.
because I'm not a great driver.
Then why are you talking about me driving? I haven't hit anybody.
No, it was a joke.
Somebody sideswiped me when I
Ooh,
wasn't
who got
in the
sensitive?
car.
Oh, woman
Huh?
driver.
Huh?
Woman driver, so
You
sensitive.
said you feel safe in the car with me.
Did I?
Yeah.
Can
You said you don't like when other people drive because you're constantly worried about it.
Whenever you recall stuff, can you note the circumstances that I say that?
No.
in?
I feel like you're my ex where it's he drank so much.
I don't drink so much.
And he would always tell me the most amazing, wonderful things when he was drunk and then act like it never happened.
I say
the
nice
next
things to you
day.
when I'm sober. I'm sober sometimes and say nice things to you.
I'm sober sometimes is the best statement ever.
You know that's true. I am nice to you, damn it.
Yeah, and you've been sober in my car and you go, yeah, I trust your driving.
That I don't remember.
Must not have been sober then.
I think what I said, I wasn't sober. Are we going to Long Beach? It was a long drive.
You were not drunk.
I wasn't drunk?
No.
I felt drunk.
And also, you've said it more than once.
To who?
I wrote it in my diary every time.
It says two things. Something about Suge Knight and something about that
I wrote in my diary,
driver.
I said, "Dear diary, DJ was very nice to me today." He
Um,
said, "Despite being a woman, I'm a very good driver."
Oh, that does sound like me. Okay, I'm back with you now.
I'm
You have to say the whole sentence.
I'm dying to find my journal from high school because I know that there's some good stuff in there and I know it's somewhere in my house and this is my goal to find it in the next few weeks.
Bring it in. We'll do a dramatic
I
reading
know
of
that's
it.
what I want to do, and it's funny because when I went to college, my mom found it and she read some of it, and she's like, "Hey, what's all this?" Because it's very innocent, but it was talking about like hookups with guys and stuff like that.
July 13th, 1994. How old were you in 1994?
8.
Okay. July 20th, 2004. I like anal. That's all it says.
No, I was still a virgin when I went to college. I lost it about 2 weeks into being in California, but still. But she read it and she was asking me about it, and maybe it was when I was still in high school, and I was like, "Oh no, like my friend, like anytime we had a sleepover, my friends, we would all like bring our diaries and we would like read things out loud, and I just wrote these in there because I didn't want to feel left out." Blah blah blah. And she's like, "Oh, well, you're a really good writer." And I was like, "They were all true." Especially the one about me giving a hand job and the guy telling me I was a good catcher.
Did you wrote that down?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's why we need to do some
I
readings on
never
here.
wrote any of my hand jobs
It was my
down.
first hand job.
I can't even remember.
And
my
he
first
said I
hand
was
job.
good at catching, which I think
Good
is
at catching. That means taking up
catching
the ass,
the cum.
doesn't it? Oh, gross.
Thanks, Mom, for my good writing compliment.
Wait, your mom listens to this show, doesn't she?
Yeah, but what is she going to ground me when I'm 38 about giving a hand job in high school?
It's brave of you.
I could have done worse.
I did do worse.
I did
but I
steal
just
the
didn't write
car.
it down. I drove to Florida once without asking my parents' permission.
Oh.
Yeah.
From where?
From Tennessee. but I was such a goody two-shoes. I didn't drink or do anything in high school. So it was a bunch of guys. We drove down there, stayed in a motel, and they came back the next day. We didn't do anything, which was a seafood restaurant.
Yeah.
And we were bad.
We were bad. Well, you're allergic to shellfish. That is bad.
I know. Well, I didn't eat anything.
I
sat at the Red Lobster and had a Virgin Lighthouse.
I stole the car when I was 15, so before I had a license. And me and my best friend Laura, we drove to her boyfriend's house, and it was like after school. My mom was still at work. My parents both were still at work, and we were like, okay, we're just gonna go over there for an hour, and we'll be back with plenty of time before my parents get home. But then we got stuck in fucking rush hour traffic on the way home, and so the whole drive home, we're like, what do we tell them if we get caught?
This is
Blah,
the
blah.
hardest thing I've ever
We were
done.
like, should we tell them that Jocelyn's parents are abusing her? And we were coming up with all these like crazy schemes or whatever. We come home and there's a van sitting out in front of our house that looks exactly like the van my mom had. And I'm like, fuck, we're fucked. Pull into the driveway, and out comes three of my friends who had borrowed their mom's van, and they came over, and I was like, oh, thank God. And so as I'm getting out of the car, my mom pulls up and she's like, what are you doing in the car? I was like, oh, I was getting a CD. And she's like, okay. And it was just like perfect
But there's
timing.
nothing worse than being stuck in traffic when you're doing something wrong.
Yes.
and you have to
It
be
was
somewhere.
truly
because
the
every
most-
second of that traffic is an eternity. So years ago, I went to this mansion, this party at this pink mansion in Essex outside of London. And it was me, my friend Kelly, her ex-husband James, and Madonna's makeup artist husband, Andrea. So we go down there and we have this big party, and I have to fly back to Los Angeles the next day because I have to work. Mm-hmm. And so we went down there thinking that it was Friday for some reason, and we're going to come back on Saturday traffic. It was fucking Thursday. We left that party at like 6 a.m. and it's like an hour and a half without traffic. It took us 3 hours to crawl across London. Kelly started crying at one point, and I heard her just do this. This is the hardest thing I've ever done. So now anything, you've heard me say that 1,000 times, right? Like anything that's hard, I'm like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. It was awful. We were annihilated, and back then imbibing. It's what you did back then.
Yeah.
I don't do any of that
There was
shit
no
anymore.
Uber.
I'm a good boy. But I was reckless and young, and I had Madonna's makeup artist boyfriend in the anyway, jokes. But no, he was there though. But here's what made it worse. Everybody had to be somewhere. And so I'm like, I shouldn't have done this. Why are you so stupid? Like every moment I was like beating myself up. Why did you do this? You could have made 1,000 other choices. You also could have just looked at a fucking calendar. They're on your phone. And
Well, you didn't have phones with calendars at the time.
it wasn't that long ago.
Like it was last week.
It was an hour ago. I had to get here. No, it was awful. And then people started jumping ship. Because the support bus that all of the Madonna is, obviously her tours are like traveling cities, and the support bus was leaving with all the friends and relatives and spouses because they were going to Paris that day. And so he had to just jump out, and that made it worse. Whenever you're in a party situation that has gone south, any sort of addition or subtraction of people it's very it jolts you, right? It's hard to get past. It's like if you're on a bender and somebody comes just shows up at your house. Like I was at a friend's house, and I can't say this person's name, but can
you give us their address?
It was Ty. His cleaning lady showed up, and I'm like, she can't come in here.
Ariana, what are you doing
Exactly.
here? I've never really had that. I mean, there have been times where I was like I stayed up super late drinking.
Yeah.
Actually, probably 2 years ago, I stayed up all night drinking, and I think I fell asleep at like 10. And my brother had been trying to text me for a while, and I'm always super responsive to him, and so he texted Jack to see where I was and all that stuff. He's like, I don't know, I haven't talked to her. I wake up to knocking at my door, and I just like look out over the patio, and I was like, hello, and he's like, I just want to make sure you're okay. I'm like, I'm fine, I just was sleeping.
This is why your relative should live at least 2,000 miles away from you. I live here on purpose. Like everybody's like, I'm leaving California. I'm like, bye. And they're like, what? Oh, you're never gonna move back to Tennessee? I'm like, they could show up at my house.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough when people.
I live behind. The best thing about my place is that you have to have a gate code to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, same with mine, but he knows the gate code.
Oh yeah, I don't give my gate code out to people. I learned that lesson when I lived in New Orleans. I gave everybody my gate code or my door code, and they were at my front door going, I see your light on from the street. I know you're in there. Come out with us.
Yeah, I mean, that was self-preservation.
Yeah, I had
for sure.
I miss New Orleans. It was one of the best times of my life. But I went there for a job, but I had never lived there without being employed. And when the job ended, I stayed for 6 months after it, and I was like, I'm gonna die here. Like, all my friends are in nightlife. I have nowhere to be. It was too much, especially at that point in my life. You know, they say things like, you know, like my sister, you know, she drank and all that stuff in high school, and you know, now she goes to bed at 9:30, right? But I didn't do anything in high school, so right. Everybody has to go through that crazy period, and my crazy period was in like 2010 to like 2014
now.
or until
2000 now.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I wouldn't have to lie to you because you're there. Actually, I didn't do any of this stuff before I met you. What does that say about you?
Interesting.
No, but I didn't get out of my system. And so, unfortunately, the time when it was the time to do it was in fucking New Orleans, not in like Dogpatch, Illinois, or Carter's Grove, Tennessee.
Yeah, I started drinking when I was like 13, but I was responsible-ish compared to other people in my grade and in my school. Like, I
only threw up 4 times last week.
No, I mean, drinking early actually helped me in college because I really knew my limits. Like when people get to the point where they're 18 or 19, 20 drinking for the first time, they think that they're invincible. And so now you're fucking taking back shots all the time. They don't know when that last shot is going to send them over the edge. So I was always the person who was able to like be relatively sober to take care of people and kind of mother them when they were drinking and all that stuff. And it's Grant, my middle brother, he was always the really bad influence through high school. Like when we lived in Canada.
Grant?
Yeah. Oh, God. Grant was.
He looks like Disneyland.
Grant was a bad kid. Like when we lived in Canada, he got bullied pretty badly in Canada, and so
in Canada,
I got bullied terribly in Canada.
Oh, you told me that. I can understand that though.
So when he was a freshman in high school, I got bullied, and they were right. Okay, is that what you want me to say?
They probably bullied you because you guys look like you're so Aryan. You look like Nazis. you look like eugenics experiments.
He got taped to his skateboard and sent down a hill. He got tied to the flagpole, blah blah blah. So when he was new to this school, and so he then became friends with a group of kids that was like kind of just troublemakers. So hey,
let's go smoke the marijuana.
They stole a car. There was one time he got called into the principal's office because he and his friend were like setting each other's clothes on fire during recess.
Ty has the same high school experience.
Really?
Yes.
We were at a Catholic
he stole cars
school
and did all of this shit and set things on fire.
Yeah. I think Grant got arrested. He got called into the principal's office because he and his friend were setting each other's clothes
Ty,
on fire.
if you don't want me to tell any of these stories, can you leave a comment? Can you email loadedpod@gmail.com?
loadedpod@gmail.com. But he got called into the principal's office and she was like, did you do this? Blah, blah, blah. He shoves everything off her desk onto the ground. She was a bitch, by the way. So kind of deserve it. Our principal.
Okay.
So at this point, my mom had been called by the principal because of all the shit that was going on at recess. She pulled me out of class, and we are driving alongside the road as Grant is walking out of school towards the church, and my mom's like, Grant, get in the car. He's like, no. She's like, get in the car, Grant. He's like, no. And she's like, did you have pancakes this morning? He just keeps walking because we find out he's hypoglycemic, so he would have these like major mood swings. So we went to a Catholic school.
So smoking cigarettes and juggling chainsaws are a result of low blood sugar.
Yeah, but he walked into the church
and just pissed
while mass was in session. Walks in, throws open the door, and goes, "Fuck the school."
Grant.
And then never got in the car.
This is like finding out if I find out that there's that pink mansion in Essex.
That happened.
I went
6
there
minutes ago. He pulled it up.
Oh, I'm not thorough. I told you that I'm jet lagged.
I'm sorry to distract you from your story.
No, it's so interesting to hear people like how they were when they were children. When they're like he feels like an Audrey Hepburn movie to me. Like he's always smiling.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely figured out how.
Not that he's not a fully formed human. I'm not saying that. But he seems upbeat, positive, and not nuts.
He still deals with hypoglycemia. Like
so do I.
When we were kids, we called him Brant for bad Grant and Grant for good Grant. So it was just dependent on. I mean,
hypoglycemia. I have it too.
And you're in a mood when you. Yeah,
I'm in a mood, but I don't do things outside of my personality. Though.
Yeah, I mean, he was a 12, 13-year-old.
I don't start smoking cigarettes in church and juggling chainsaws. I don't. I wish I could blame.
Yeah. So anyway, when I was 13, I think the first time I drank was like wine coolers at my friend's house. Gateway. But then Grant would get like a bottle of Jack Daniels, like a fifth of Jack Daniels, and we would, on a school night, we would play this game, I bet you can't drink down to this line. And so he would just point out a line in the bottle, and I would chug until I got to that bottle, and then I would go, I bet you can't drink down to this line, and then he would chug, and we would finish the whole fifth, and then he would call me out of school the next day, and we would go to lunch.
You guys were fucking juvenile delinquents.
But like, I always drank at home. I wasn't out going to parties and all of that stuff. It was like we were as safe as we could be.
A young high school counselor. You're an addict. Admit it.
I'm a commercial for drugs and alcohol.
Adults do it. Even Toke. Everybody does it. Everybody use anybody. Desperate lives.
There's like
was that this episode?
No,
or the last
episode.
It's
going to be every episode.
You're gonna be lost if you don't listen to every episode of the podcast. I can't recap all the time. I'm exhausted.
I was just watching the most recent episode of Big Brother this morning, and there's an older woman on it, and they were talking about going out to drink after the season's done and all that stuff. And one of the guys like, I want to party with you, Angela. And she's like, yeah, me too. And he's like, we're going to do shots. And she goes, yeah. And maybe we're going to do a pot too. Because if you guys do a pot, I'm going to do a pot too. Like, do a pot. She wants to smoke weed with them.
Oh my God.
Like, you can't be serious.
How old was she?
She's
in her mid to late
one
hundreds.
on the far bottom right.
Describe her to me. Sign it into my hand. I can't see.
She's probably in her 50s. She's like so fucking dramatic.
Do a pot?
Do a pot. Yeah, she wants to do a pot.
That sounds like. Does she mean that?
Yeah.
Oh, where's she from?
I have no
Illinois?
idea. Annoying land.
Is she Midwestern?
Probably.
Does she say challenge?
Challenge? No.
Let's see. I can see her. She looks like Drew Carey from here with my glasses on.
You're actually not wrong. Drew Carey with a wig.
Drew Carey's actually the host of The Price is Right, which is a CBS show, which means he could be a plant.
Oh my God.
That would be amazing.
I've been to that set. I spun the wheel when I did Craig Ferguson. He was in that same television city, and I snuck back there one day and spun the wheel.
That's fun. Was
it
hard to spin?
It's fucking heavy.
Yeah,
it's very heavy.
I mean, it's dangerous. People fall down from that.
Have you gone to any other like tapings of popular like talk shows or game shows?
No, I was at the taping of Big Bang Theory.
Well, you were on Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, that's the only taping I've been to. No, I've been to the taping of The Tonight Show.
Okay, because you were on The Tonight Show?
Yeah.
I mean, in the audience, were you?
No.
Okay.
That would be weird. It would be weird to do that, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Because I would be like, it would be weird. It would be like, probably, it would be weird.
Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough.
Have you ever gone anywhere in disguise?
No. I mean, look at me. It would be ridiculous.
Why?
Like a beard or a wig or something.
No, but I
You
am
think you're
9
the
feet.
only person with that body type in the world?
I was driving down I was driving down the 10, 80 miles an hour with a beard, a baseball cap, and sunglasses on, and a whole busload of Japanese tourists were glued to the fucking window. Nobody looks like me.
So you're big in Japan?
I'm huge in Japan. Nobody looks like me. You can't take that from me. People magazine in 2007 listed me as one of the 50 most recognizable people in the country. Because nobody looks like me. Also, all the press that I got when I first started was human bookmark, DJ Qualls shines. The Memphis Commercial Appeal called me an Auschwitz survivor. So if I have to take all of that, at least let me have the other part of it.
Yeah, but if it was
Could
really,
have just said no.
it could be a really good disguise. We're not just
No.
talking about putting on some silly glasses.
No, like what?
you guys don't know who I am.
I'm definitely not
Like
DJ Qualls.
dress as Marie Antoinette, go to the grocery store.
The Kardashians on their show, they went in full disguises on a Hollywood tour bus.
If I was on camera for a TV show, then I would do it.
I think we should do it for our show.
No. Here's the thing. They would do this. Oh, look, it's those people. Or they would do this. I don't know her.
Yeah,
To
I
us.
mean that's the point. If you're in disguise,
No, but the thing is, I would never. First of all, I hate artifice. We talked about this. Like I hate art. Like I can't watch professional porn because I hate artifice. Anything that's not genuine, I don't like. And pretending to, I don't like that. I like dressing up though in costume.
Who is artifice?
I like the actor going. Pretending to be somebody else is not something I would ever do.
Not at these prices. My emotions are available strictly for sale.
Speaking of for sale, yesterday was my brother Grant's birthday, 9/11. Never forget. And I sent him a happy birthday video, and then DJ sent him a video
cameo.
as a cameo, and he was like, "Hey, Kelly reached out to me. I heard
Hey
you're
Grant,
a big
it's
fan."
DJ Qualls here. So your sister Kelly sent me a message saying it's your birthday today.
We sent him like 5 videos yesterday.
Yeah, I like Grant a lot. It's weird to find out he was a juvenile delinquint.
You didn't know that?
I did not know that.
Oh yeah. Well, that's why it's so funny, because he definitely goes through phases of like he'll be super strict on his diet and not drinking and all that stuff, and then he'll get back into drinking. But anytime he's in his not drinking phase, I'm like, what happened to you?
I mean, I wouldn't have known it because he's not around Los Angeles much, or when I'm here, and your childhood doesn't just casually come up in conversation usually.
That's true. Yeah.
Yes, I wouldn't know
He
that.
was a good time. I mean, like there was one time that we lived in Canada and he ran away. And
this is the Grant episode.
It really is. He ran away, and I just remember being so distraught. And I was telling my mom, I'm like, I'm never gonna drink, and I'm never gonna smoke, and I'm never gonna do any of these things that he does. And you know what? I followed the blueprint, and I did it.
You did all of it.
He
right?
showed me how fun it was.
Look at how fun this is.
Thanks, Grant.
Setting cars on fire is fun.
Mylene is good for him in keeping him on the straight and narrow. No, I mean she's also fun. She likes to drink and all that stuff.
It's
But
that
now he's
car.
got a kid.
Yeah. The car setting on fire must stop at some point, and I think when the child comes. Yeah. You can't have a baby on board sticker on your car and set other cars on fire.
Who says?
It's a mixed message.
You can have everything, DJ.
It's a mixed message.
I've got a couple more questions. Let's see. What's the worst job you've ever had? Can't wait for the next live.
Oh, the worst job I ever had. I worked at a pajama factory.
What?
Yeah. The two industries in my town are caskets and pajamas, but pajamas has since closed. And my father has always had this thing where if you don't wake up at like 4:30 in the morning on a Saturday in the summertime and get outside and do something, he thinks you're lazy. And so there's no such thing as downtime with my father. And so like he would like get out, and my friends called it vacuuming the yard. Go out and pick up sticks, like for real. Like and so one summer I worked at Ponderosa. I've had this job since I was 14 years old. I had it like right after chemotherapy. Like so I was bald, pale, and wearing an apron, busting tables at Ponderosa.
You're Caillou.
Yeah, and then I work. Yeah, exactly. I look like powder, and then I work my way up to the salad bar, and then work my way up to being a waiter.
Damn, a salad bar was a promotion.
Yeah, it really was.
Whew. That's another one of our invisible string theory because I was in a Ponderosa commercial as a kid.
Yeah, I know. It feels like privilege to equate those two, but
No, it's just another connection.
I
That we have,
also
a
worked
weird
for
connection.
I also worked for Ponderosa. Did your clothes also smell like grease, and your parents made you take them out outside even in the wintertime?
I definitely worked at restaurants.
Did you have to go in naked inside in the summertime? I mean, in the wintertime? Yeah, my stepmother hated the smell, so she made me fully disrobe outside.
Yeah, I think that's something people don't recognize about working at a restaurant because I worked at a Mongolian barbecue.
Oh, I love Mongolian barbecue.
Too. It's my favorite restaurant
Wait,
at
the
home.
one with the big round
Yeah.
thing where they cook the noodles on?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah, me too.
They've all closed.
There's one in the South Bay. We could go on the way down or the way back from Long Beach.
There's one in the mall by your house.
No, it's closed.
They closed it?
Yeah.
Also, a lot
It's
of
a
them
taco shop
suck.
now. That one was good. The one in the
Burbank
fashion
Mall?
No, in the Fashion Square Mall in Sherman Oaks.
Oh.
That was a good one. And then there used to be one in the Beverly Center, and it closed.
My favorite
And there
was
used to be one in Universal City.
BD's Mongolian Barbecue was the chain that I worked at, and the one that I worked at just closed like last year, and it's very depressing to me because every time I would go home to visit, I would go there. If I was staying for 5 days, I would try to get to Mongolian 5 times, and it just closed. So the closest one is now like 30 minutes away.
What's the worst job you ever had? Mine definitely was working at the pajama factory. My father forced me into it. They said that I went to the college, and everybody was like, "Give me $100." I'm like, "I work here."
I think probably my worst one is that when I first started out working in solar, I was going door to door.
Oh my God.
I mean, and it was.
I'll take pajamas any day of the week.
Luckily, I was good at it, and so I wouldn't tell my boss. So the first day I ever worked that job, I set the company record for the amount of leads that I got, and what I fucked up by doing was letting them know that I was really good.
That's awful, and probably everybody fucking hated you, right?
I think they were just like, shit, how did you do that? Blah, blah, blah. And then eventually I learned how to sandbag.
Like,
and
like
so,
this bitch she showed up here and got 47 leads when I've just been telling Harvey that the 12 that I have were hard won. And she got 47 on the same day.
I got 8
Let's
on
key
my
her
first
car.
day, which was like, it was hard to even get one, you know, like, so eventually.
If you knock on my door and try to sell me something,
I just was good in the sense that like I had all of these tactics where it's like I would knock on the door and then turn my back to the door, so they were always curious. Like I wasn't looking in their window, and so that they could tell me no to my face through the window, and so they would always open the door, and I'd be like, I would put my hands up and be like, I'm not here to sell anything right now.
is that passive aggressive?
Maybe, I don't know, but it worked. I eventually had to start wearing a fake engagement ring because
Everybody tried to fuck you?
well, no, just because the wives, if I was talking to the husband about something,
really?
they would get fucking really pissy with me, and so I started wearing a fake engagement ring. But what I started sandbagging, so we were supposed to go.
Did you ever try this tactic? Look at your husband and look at me.
Do you really think?
Do you really think?
I want this?
Look at him, look at me. Look at him, look at me. Pause. Look at him, look at me.
But we were supposed to go out every single
some
day.
solar.
But usually on the first day of the week, I would go out and I would get like 8 to 10 leads. And then I would tell my boss that I got 2. And then the next day I would tell him I got 2. And I just wouldn't go out anymore. But I had a couple of like really weird situations. There was one where I knocked on a door and a really old dude came to the door with a blanket draped around his shoulders, but he was fully nude. And so I think he thought he was covering himself, but it was like
You were standing in front of a butcher shop.
and he also had, I mean, he was old, but I don't know if he had conditions, so he was shaking.
Taco
and
Bell's
so
palsy?
it was like he had Taco Bell's palsy. And so he's shaking, so his dick's just shaking. I was like, hey, sir, how are you? And he's like, I'm just watching the game. And I was like, oh, Trojans? Because it was USC was playing, and I was like staring at his dick saying that.
Like everything you said just happened to be a dick reference.
It just like, I kept fucking
it
up.
was like Naked Gun.
Yeah. And I wanted to be done with it, but of course this was the one door that he was like, I'm very interested in what you're selling.
Tell me more about solar.
I was like, please stop.
Well, I'm just curious about it because I don't really run my air condition very much because it's so damn hot in here and so expensive.
Yeah, exactly. He talked to me for quite a while. So I just like kind of turned my back and was writing my binder. There was another one where a guy came to the door and he was holding this little like toothpick with paint on it. And you're always trying to make conversation to like distract them from the fact that you're there soliciting something, right? So I was like, oh, what's that for? And he's like, oh, I'm painting some figures over here. He's like, do you want to see him? And I'm like, sure. And so I come into his house and it is filled with thousands of dolls. Like creepiest fucking like Victorian dolls. So he's like, come on in here. I'll show you. I go into his kitchen. There's an island and he's like, come on over here. And I'm like, I'm standing behind the island. I'm like, no, I'm okay. And he's like showing me this doll that he's painting. I'm like, if I get murdered in a dollhouse, I'm going to be so embarrassed.
Creepy. That makes Suge Knight driving his car through a recording studio sound normal.
Yeah, I had a lot of really fucking weird experiences. So I think that was the worst. But then I eventually became a manager, which was, a promotion, but it sucked worse because when I was my own salesperson, I could be on my own schedule and go out and sandbag and all that stuff. But as a manager, I had to go out with people who were terrible at the job and be there as the door is getting slammed in their face over and over again. And you're like trying to teach them how to do it. But there's a confidence that you need to go do it. Like when people say no, you can't just be like, okay, see ya. Did you guys have
conversations like this? Like, yeah, Bob, I'll get those reports to you by tomorrow. Like that kind of stuff?
No.
Like corporate-y shit?
No. I was extremely casual.
Shit.
Like I eventually started working in my friend's parents' neighborhood, which was a gated community, and they were all like millionaire mansion type things. And
was this in Chicago?
No, this was out here. So I was in Moore Park.
Right.
I was living in Costa Mesa, working in Moore Park. So I was fucking driving like a crazy amount every day. But I think that I signed a lot of deals because the businessmen really respected me, where it's like they would be like, oh, I don't know why I should do this. I'm like, listen, you've got a huge house here. Obviously, you're smart with your money.
You're a smart man.
Yeah, I would do that kind of stuff. And they'd be like, you know what? You're right. Like, I was like, you're wasting money right now. Like, whatever. So, that job was brutal. And I did door to door for like 5-6 years.
Oh, my God. I can't. That's worse than mine. I had to wake up at 4:30 in the morning to go to this job. So my job was I had to take these giant bolts of like sweatpants material, pajama pants material, and just roll it out, and then take these big die cutters and cut it up, and then move it on to the assembly. So that's what I did for 12 hours a day. And I had to be there at 5 a.m. So I had to leave the house at 4:30, and I was habitually late because I'm not an early riser.
Because 4:30 in the morning is a ridiculous time to start working.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And 12 hours?
Why did they need you there at 4:30 in the morning?
I don't know. Oh, because the place wasn't air conditioned.
Oh.
So,
but you still had to be there the whole bulk of the day anyway.
I know. Southern people. And so my father's, the casket factory he worked in his whole life wasn't air conditioned or heated. I mean, it's fucking abusive, right? And the wages suck. And so we forget that everything that we use is made by somebody. Mm-hmm. And there's a person that works at that factory, probably not in the best conditions, especially if it's in a small town in the South. So anyway, I wound up getting fired because I got 3. And the weird thing was my first boss at Ponderosa was now my manager. He was at the pajama factory. It was like an episode of fucking Green Acres where it's like one person has every job and he just puts on a different hat. So I'm like, used to be my boss, and now it's Isaac. So I wound up getting fired, and so I would just get up every morning and get in my car like I was going to work and go sleep at the Ponderosa. I'd go behind.
You didn't want you to tell your parents?
Yeah, and then one day I woke up to get up. It was my dad. He just happened to be going by and saw my car. I was parked behind it. But and then I had to tell him I was fired.
Well, you had to have a job because
he thought it was lazy if I didn't.
Oh, so but the money was just for you.
It was life. I mean, he wasn't running a racket on me or anything. He just made me. It felt lazy, even though I was working every single night at Ponderosa. So I worked every morning every day during the day at the pajama factory, and then went to Ponderosa at night.
It's too much work.
And I was such a good kid. It wasn't like I was doing it to stay off crack. Like, right. I didn't do anything. No, he just always had this. I think it's because I'm not sporty and I don't like going outside and all of that shit that everybody does. And he couldn't imagine a world where I could make money off my mind. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this has to, I mean, and I feel I was alien baby to them. Like I don't like anything that they like. And I was bookish and like to stay inside. And even this, I'm sure, is like I act, I pretend for a living, I do this. This is not labor to them. And a lot of people, I think, or who are from where I'm from, think that I don't work.
Oh yeah, I and a lot of people think acting and modeling and all that stuff
A lot
is
of my
the
friends
easiest
think
job
that.
in the world, and you're like,
The amount of people who've borrowed money from me and never paid back, like hundreds of thousands of dollars have been borrowed from me over the years.
Yeah.
And now I don't do it, but you feel so awful when somebody's in a bad spot. And even though I have it at that time, there's no guarantee that I have any work after this job. And it's every time. And sure enough, like after the pandemic, my career changed. The casting mandate changed. I usually play the second or third male lead. All those roles are going ethnic. And that's, and I'm not bitching about that at all, because like I've taken a job from Regina King because the race math worked in my favor. So I can't be the beneficiary of a system and then bitch about it when it changes.
Right.
And it's given me everything. And being white, I mean, I'm good at what I do, but also I can't say that I wasn't put in the position because of certain factors, right? If they knew I was gay, though, it would have wrecked it all. You couldn't do that back then. I mean, like you have like people will, once they know that, like even though Neil Patrick Harris, they know that he's gay. Like, oh, Doogie Howser is gay. You know it intellectually, but you're not comfortable with it. But people in the general public aren't comfortable with it. They don't want to see him with a dick in his mouth.
Right.
I mean, I don't either, but you know, it depends. But you know what I mean?
Let's find a video of him with a dick in his mouth on Patreon.
It's one thing to know something intellectually, and it's another thing. But it definitely changes. It has changed how I'm cast. It has definitely changed my career.
Yeah.
And because the two things happen at exactly the same time. So it would just go to reason.
Yeah.
That, I mean, the most recent thing that I got asked to read for was to play a gay cat. I know.
More on that on Patreon, guys.
Exactly.
You can follow us on.
And the kind of roles that are being written, even though we think we're so far down, we're so different than like, oh, nobody cares anymore. If you bring it up, you care about it. Like, you know what I mean? Oh, that's DJ. He's gay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People still care about it. They definitely care about it because people are beaten to death for it still.
Yeah.
We are not that far down the road. We like to think intellectually that we are, well, nobody cares about that anymore. It's still an issue.
Of course.
Like, what's his name? Clarence Thomas was like, well, let's reevaluate that gay marriage thing.
Well, he's a dickhead.
He is a dickhead, but he also represents a big portion of the population.
Yeah. A lot of people are dickheads.
A lot of people are dickheads.
Guys, you can follow us on social media at LoadedPod. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/LoadedPod. DJ is going to name and shame the people that have borrowed money from him and not paid him back.
I'm not going to.
You can email us at probablyloadedpod@gmail.com. And yeah, join us on Patreon.
So anyway,
you can come to our
Josh
next
borrowed all
fucking
this money from me and didn't pay me
happy hour,
back.
Live happy hour. Those are really fun. We play World's Shittiest Game Show, and the winners get some personalized videos.
We tried to send prizes, but it blew up in our faces.
Yeah. So we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Sit on down and pour yourself a glass.
And tune into your favorite podcast.
Where things will be misquoted.
And